Hi guys, welcome back to Benji. So, some of you may know from yesterday's video, which was uploaded today. Today is the final issue of the Walking Dead comic. It's a day that I dreamt that would never come, but I knew was going to happen. I just didn't expect it to be today. And it's here, The Farmhouse, issue 193. There's been a lot of speculation with this issue. I have high hopes for it. I mean, it's the final issue. What more is there to say? I mean, last issue we lost Rick Grimes. Now, it's time for the end. Before we begin, I want to say thank you to all the people that have watched these reviews since I started reviewing them back when the Whisperer War ended back in December. I think it was like, what, 2016? And I have to say, working all this way to the end, it's been a journey and it has truly been a privilege. So I hope you have enjoyed all these reviews, and thank you so much for supporting me in making them. So, to stop delaying the inevitable, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not read issue 193, please walk away now. I am viewing this on my PC. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to collect it from the comic book store. I am also going to be collecting the commemorative issue 192 Rick Grimes Rest in Peace cover as well. I'll make a video on that as well at whenever I go get it. So Image Comics presents The Walking Dead, number 193, The Farmhouse. Previously, Sebastian Milton shot Rick Grimes, then shot him some more. Carl arrived at his father's residence the next morning to a reanimated Rick. Carl immediately shot that walker in the head, only then realised what he's done. Carl arranged for his father to be buried back at Alexandria, but he wouldn't travel alone, as he was joined by many people whose lives his father affected. This is what happened next. We begin the issue with, just like the preview, we see the farmhouse and we see a figure walking up to the farmhouse in question. It is in actual fact a walker, just a single walker. Someone starts running and the walker is killed with a katana, but it is an older version of Carl Grimes. Yes, there is a time jump in this issue. Someone called for Carl. Turns out it's now an older version of Sophia. Yeah, I did not see that coming. I mean, last we saw Carl was in a relationship with Lydia, and now, years later, he's with Sophia. And they mention Andrea, and as you know, and this completely surprised me, they have a daughter. So Carl named his daughter after his stepmom. I honestly thought they were either going to go with Laurie or Judith. Those are, like, if Carl was to have a child, I would say Laurie or Judith. They talk about Herschel, and then we see a much older Herschel Ree, and judging by what I can see, he definitely looks like Glenn. Definitely. And Carl punches him in the face for a reason, but for some reason Herschel has this crazy idea of locking up walkers in a cart and just showing people like a circus attraction. Carl says that he killed it. Herschel is pissed and just saying, look, get back here, I'm getting Sheriff Kapoor. Now, if you know who Sheriff Kapoor was from the cover of issue 194, he's being introduced in this issue, but he'll only be in this issue because this is, again, the last issue. They have a little chat with Sheriff Kapoor, Carl, Sophia, and Andrea. So they're saying, look, that thing could, like, Carl's like, this thing could have killed somebody. Like, you do not understand the threat. He's like, but it didn't. As it stands right now, it was personal property and you destroyed it. So from everyone else's point of view, Carl just destroyed some property of Herschel's, which, yeah, it's a bit odd. I mean, it's nice to see Sheriff Kapoor. I mean, he does look like Rick. He looks like a mixture between Morgan and Rick. Mainly the hairstyle looks like Rick. The face looks like Morgan, if you can see the resemblance. We then cut to Carl and Sophia having a night at the residence of Earl Sutton. If you don't remember who Earl Sutton is, he is the blacksmith of the Hilltop, or the, I'm assuming now, retired blacksmith of the Hilltop. But they're saying that, Earl, you should move back into town. You should die in the town, so obviously walkers don't get to him because he is old and fragile now. And just, yeah. But then we cut to a nice starry night of Carl and Sophia. They're just reminiscing. And they're just, things are different now. It's been 20 odd years. Like, judging by their ages, I'm guessing Carl is in his, what, mid-30s? They, like, Herschel's a good example because they say he's about 3 in the issue, like, 188, 187. So, yeah, I'm guessing he's in his, like, early 20s, so it's been, like, what, 20 years? And that's crazy to think, like, 20 years, and plus the extra 2 years from All Out War to New Beginning, and then the extra like 2 years from the first issue to the end of All Out War. So that's been like 26 years. That is crazy. You got to think how far they've come. But then we cut to like a little courtroom scene between Herschel and Carl, which seems a bit odd because Herschel does seem like a bit of a prick in this issue. But I guess... And I didn't mention, I feel like there is a bit of a Red Dead Redemption vibe. I don't know why, I just feel like it's a bit of Red Dead Redemption. Carl in his little suit does look a bit like John Marston from Red Dead Redemption. So, but we also see that Maggie has become the President of the Commonwealth. Wow, did not see that coming. I mean, I guess they hinted it in the TV show that Maggie was going to be a leader anyway, so I guess they kind of implemented that as well. So, who knows? Sophia calls Herschel an arsehole, but Maggie's like, don't talk to your brother that way, like, typical mum stuff. And they're like, and I think you're going to end up with another Sebastian Milton if you're not careful. Carl is the least of your worries. Like, if you're not careful, then she will have Sophia to deal with. And it's good to see that she's stepping up, that she's come into a badass role. They head off back to their home. They head to sleep. They cut to the next day, and Herschel's like, look, thanks. I'll sure to be patronising your business again in the future. And it's just like, might even talk to my mom into staying here. And then a child quickly runs to Herschel saying, look, all your walkers are dead. And you can see that obviously Carl has done this. It's all a bit odd because I know Carl wants to implement the thing that, yes, it's been 20 years, but everything has still happened. Like, people have died. And Carl runs into someone. They say, thought you could sneak away. Turns out it is Lydia. Lydia has returned, and as you can see, she is very much wearing Carl's new hat, or the sheriff hat that Rick has had, and that Carl gave to her in the early Whisperer War. Well, not the Whisperer, like the early Whisperer arc. So between like issues 134 to 135, 136-ish. And Carl, his job is actually a messenger. But they head to this house, and Lydia argues, like, why do you come here? No one's here. No one lives here. Because, like, look, the supplies get used. Someone is staying here, even though they're hiding from us for some reason. Turns out, it's Negan. Negan has returned, in a sense. Because you can see the grave of Lucille. And it's strange to think, we haven't seen Negan since issue 174. So that's like, what? Over nearly 30, like 20 issues, like 19 issues. So, it's crazy to see what he's up to now. But obviously we don't hear from him. Carl knocks on the door and says, hello, anyone there? Da, da, da. He says, let's go. They go and hang out for a bit, catch up with some people. And it's strange to think, it's like them going to see new people, and it's amazing. And they look up, they see loads of friggin' birds in the sky. And they said, and Carl says, I read about this once. When the settlers first came to this country, they could hunt, but bluntly firing their guns into the air when a flock passed overhead, because the bird population was so dense. We brought the population down. I guess there's not enough of us to do that. And then she goes, this is amazing. Then Lydia and Carl spend the night in the tent together, and it's just like, it's a bit odd. Lydia asks about the eye patch. He's like, no, I don't do this for Sophia. She doesn't make me wear this. I do it for Andrea. And then Carl's like, look, Lydia's just like, look, why do you do it? And Carl goes, you look at my face and you see death. I know it and you know it. That's the world that I'm from, that we're from. That world is gone. And I don't want to remind my daughter of it every time she looks at me. It has nothing to do with me or Sophia or you. And I see his point. He doesn't want to, like, from Carl's perspective, he's lived in 3 worlds. Pre-apocalypse, post-apocalypse, like when The Walking Dead officially started, and now, where the walkers are gone, what comes next. And trains are apparently operational in this universe. I'm not joking, there is an operational train. People are living, people are reading newspapers. I guess the world has truly grown up. And we get a beautiful double-page spread of train tracks being built. So I guess there's more world building, more connecting, which I actually would like to see if Robert Kirkman at some point was to make another comic book based in that Walking Dead universe, but on different characters. I would be so down for that. Please, Kirkman, make another series based in this universe, but on a different country, on like maybe like Fear the Walking Dead, but a comic book version, but without, like, maybe not Madison Clark, maybe not Alicia, or maybe in a different country like Great Britain, like where I'm from, the UK. Spain, I think they already did Spain with a little series, or a little issue with Jeffrey Grimes, aka the brother of Rick Grimes. But then we run into Eugene once again. He says, welcome to the Western Front. And they talk about grading attachments and say, look, we need this, this, and this. He's like, I got your letter, I brought the whole list. I mean, who are you talking to here? This is Carl Grimes. And yeah, they have a little bit of a chat. And Eugene goes, I know, right? We'll have met with the Western Alliance. We'll have met the Western Alliance's tracks within a year, for sure. Uniting the East and West for the first time since the trials began, which I'm assuming the trials is like the beginning of, like the first issue, like the beginning of the Dead Walking. I just wish Stephanie had lived to see it. So unfortunately, Stephanie is dead. Eugene can never seem to find the right girl. I mean, he had Rosita, and then she died. Now Stephanie as well. Carl runs into Laura, who, if you remember, is an old member of the Saviors, who helped Mercer escape from prison, and then got the revolution started on the Commonwealth, which then resulted in Rick's death. Because I'm going to say again, like, seeing the trains operational, seeing them on horses, seeing the shops, it's a very Red Dead Redemption vibe, and I love it. It's like the epilogue to Red Dead Redemption 2 when John Marston gets the he gets like the Beecher's Hope Ranch and then builds it up and then just rides horses, rides the trains. But then it's amazing. They arrive home, or Carl arrives home, is greeted by his daughter, and it's just a bit of an old family dispute, well, between the parents. Andrea was safe, and it was like, look, if I joke, like, they talk about when Carl killed all the walkers, like, just why? You're really that mad over some stupid travelling sideshow? They're going to arrest you over this. Why? And Carl's like, if I go to jail, okay, I made a sacrifice to keep my daughter safe. That's what my dad taught me. Oh, bringing the whole Rick Grimes feelings. Ow. And then Sheriff Kapoor arrives to take Carl away. They have him in chains, but some of the Commonwealth soldiers are like, look, I'm not really getting a fugitive vibe from you. I could take the cuffs off and then put them back on before we arrive at the station. Mr. Grimes, I feel bad about this. He's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. For the record, I don't fault you at all for what you did. Keeping those things as pets is dangerous. Should be outlawed, no matter who is doing it. Yeah. Looks like Carl's going to high court. He's going to get arrested. Well, he already is arrested. But then they give Carl and Sophia a couple of minutes to talk, and they get on with it. And then we cut to the High Judge. All rise for the Honourable Judge Hawthorne. And it's Michonne. I know, boom, kabam, Blair. Michonne's real name is Michonne Hawthorne. Bit of an odd name, I'll give her that, but then we have a little more high court proceedings. I'm not going to bother restarting the issues we have addressed here. It's all anyone has been talking about for days. Carl Grimes on trial. And what's your defense? And Carl's like, thank Judge. Like, he can't say her name, her first name, because you have to respect the judge. Carl makes a statement saying, look, this world, look, I remember the trials. I'm just a messenger. I've spent weeks at a time on the road, far often outside the safe zone. Look, I get it, but we shouldn't keep walkers as pets. And he's like, I have a daughter. She means everything to me. Andrea is strong, confident, and brilliant. Every bit as much as her namesake, which is referring to his stepmother. And he's like he makes his point. He's like, that's all I have to say. And he's like, you have a good point. And this is probably one of the best monologue speeches I've heard in a while, because if you collect the Walking Dead comic and you collect the trade paperbacks, there is a speech on the back. How many hours in a day how many hours are in a day when you don't spend half of them watching television? When is the last time any of us really worked for something we wanted? How long has it been since any of us needed something that we wanted? The world we knew is gone, and a world of commerce and frivolous necessity has been replaced by a world of survival and responsibility. An epidemic of apocalyptic proportions has swept the globe, causing the dead to rise and feed on the living. In a matter of months, society has crumbled. No government, no grocery stores, no mail delivery, no cable TV. In a world ruled by the dead, we are forced to finally start living. That is the monologue from the back of the first trade paperback, and it is on all 31 others. And that is the speech Michonne gives. And it took me a while to figure out what that was, because I felt like I heard it before. And then I realised it's on the trade paperback. And that is amazing. And like again, Michonne loves that speech, and just like, look, it's the best example of forgetting what we've lived through and dishonouring those that we have lost along the way. I am putting forth a motion to outlaw it throughout the Commonwealth. The matter is settled. Mr. Grimes, you are free to go. So that's it, yep. And then Michonne and Carl have a nice little catch-up. And we learn that Hawthorne is actually her ex-husband's name, so Elodie's father, Michonne's ex-husband. And Michonne is surprised because to learn that Andrea is now 6. Again, that's so crazy to see how far they've jumped in time. Herschel starts being a bit more of a dick to Carl and saying, look, you've just basically put me out of a job. And then he says, I never met my father. Almost no one remembers him. No one built statues of him or writes books about what he did. Most of what I know about him is inside me, who I am. Tell me who he was. When I felt the fear of being around those things, I felt like I was feeling what he felt. It felt like I was getting closer to him. So, according to Herschel, being close to the Walkers is his way of getting close to Glenn. So, if that's how he wants to think, Glenn has been dead for 93 issues. Negan was introduced 93 issues ago, but this is the end. Everyone starts meeting up. Everyone, like, there are some kids chilling by a statue with skateboards. Again, this whole jumping forward in time, it makes it feel like it's pre-apocalypse. But then they're like, oh, making fun of Carl for the eye patch. And then one of the teenagers says, look, you don't know who this is. This is Carl Grimes. Like, you know, Rick Grimes' son. Show some respect. And they're like, oh, sorry. And they start running away. And Sophia goes, it'll probably be another generation before people start to really take this all for granted. And what they were sitting on was a statue of Rick. It looks amazing to see, like, that was his pose from the issue 191 cover, like saying this world has scarred us mentally. That is his "We are not the Walking Dead" speech pose, essentially. And Rick is the man who made the world, essentially. And he's like, look, it's just a statue, Carl. Let's go home so you don't have to look at it anymore. He gives one good last quick glance to his father. And that is the legacy of Rick Grimes. So we return to the farmhouse. They have a nice warm tendering moment saying, look, I love you, Carl. I love you, Sophia. And then little young Andrea asks, Carl, Dad, can you read me a bedtime story? Carl's like, you're just trying to stay up late. Like, you know, classic family tropes. Okay, I'll read you a bedtime story. You can stay up a little bit later. And Carl gives a nice last little monologue saying, do not fear, dear reader, for this may seem like a scary book at first, and your mummy and daddy are even reading this in a scary voice. Shame on them. But this is not a scary story. This is a story about hope. One day, a long time ago, dead people decided that they didn't want to be dead anymore. Nobody knows why. And don't be embarrassed. It scared everyone. Nobody knew what was happening, or why, but life changed. Everyone was tested. That's why this time was called the Trials. You've probably heard your parents talk about it. It was a scary time, and many good, strong people lost themselves along the way. They started to forget who they were. They were even started to forget what was good and bad. They only worried about living. There was no time to follow the rules. Almost nobody brushed their teeth or went to sleep by their bedtime. A great darkness fell across the whole world. It made everyone sad. People don't know if things would ever go back to normal. Most people were sure it would never go back to normal, and they got sadder and meaner. When things were at their darkest, a man came along, someone who had been hurt by the trials, but he didn't let them make him sad. Not all the time, at least. And we all know it's okay to be sad sometimes. Rick Grimes had an idea. He knew if he stayed together and he had made friends instead of enemies, we could do anything, even remake the world. He made friends and lost friends as he moved across the country. He met people he thought he would be friends, but they had turned out to be bad. He sometimes had to hurt bad people to protect his friends. Sometimes he was scared that he was becoming a bad person, but he never did. And he taught other people how to not let the trials turn them into bad people. He even made some bad people and turned them into friends. Rick travelled far and wide, always bringing his friends with him, and they made him stronger. They made him safe. And he taught people how to make friends and use them to make them stronger and safer. The trials made people so angry that some of them just wanted to fight, but Rick knew this was wrong. He showed them how to be friends instead. The trials were dangerous times, and even Rick didn't survive them. But he was able to show us the way with his teachings, and the trials ended, and life returned to normal. We even have ice cream again. People are happy, and instead of sad and safe, instead of scared and nice, instead of mean, all because someone was strong enough to do what was right. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're there and you're safe because of Rick Grimes. Wow. What a brilliant speech and a brilliant story. And as I was going through this, I noticed that we are cutting to people around the world. We see Maggie with Lance and the Commonwealth soldiers and Herschel. And old Jesus and Aaron, they have grown old together, grey hair. We even see Negan for a little bit. Mercer and Princess with their nice cute little dog. Another happy couple. I'm assuming Lydia and her husband Connor. Magna and Yumiko, a man running in very bad shorts. Eugene, Laura, loads of people who are alive. Even Michonne, Elodie, her husband, and Michonne's grandson. As well as seeing Pamela Milton and Sebastian Milton, who has grown his beard, and Pamela looks like she is becoming deteriorated and weary of her old age. And we even see the gravestones of Andrea and Rick Grimes. This is such a sad ending, but it's a brilliant ending. Carl says, you would have really liked him. So Andrea asks who. He says, your grandfather. He did all those things. My father, your grandfather, Rick Grimes. This book is about him. Sophia goes, I know, Dad, you tell me this every time. Read it again. They have a nice little smile. You can see a nice close-up of Rick and Andrea. Well, no, sorry, not Rick and Andrea. Carl and Andrea. And probably a really nice blank page of Carl and his daughter reading the book. And as you turn the page, it just says in the corner, the end. Wow, that is, for 72 pages of story, that was a brilliant way to conclude it. And I've been recording this for nearly half an hour. And there is a massive letter instead of the letter hacks. This is the end of The Walking Dead. That's it. It's over. We're done. And I'm not going to go into it personally because I want you to experience that for yourselves. Like this, like Kirkman is talking to you, and It's so sad to see that we've lost so much, and to know that the series has officially ended. This will be added, issue 193 will be added to volume 32, so that is the only volume in the series to have 7 issues. But at the end of Kirkman's big letter, he says, "Thank you, Tony Moore, for drawing the first six issues. Thank you, Cliff Ratburn. Thank you, Russ Watton. Thank you, Stefano Galliano. Thank you to all these people and the Skybound team. Thank you to Sean Kirkman for having an ear in the ground for what this world needs." And I have to say, thank you to all of those special people who made this series, who made it what it was. It has been a big part of my life, and it will continue to be a big part of my life, even though the comic is no longer with us. The TV show will live on in its legacy. Fear the Walking Dead will live on in its legacy. The TV, like all the TV shows, the 3rd TV series that is coming on in 2020, the games, the trading cards, everything, posters, Comic-Con. The Walking Dead has made something brilliant over the last 15 years, and I can't wait to share this story with the next generation. And also, they released God, Robert Kirkman finishes, and he says, "P.S. Negan lives." Because everyone was wondering if Negan was still alive, but Negan lives, everyone. And then he leaves a little thing at the end saying with the, he had some black and white sketches for issues 194, or the covers for 194, 195 and 196, because they wanted to put those 3 covers there, because obviously the standard solicitations, they have to, the comic book stores have to order them, and they didn't want to not release any covers and then say, oh, the series is over with 193. They wanted to keep us intrigued until the very end to drop that bombshell on us. But this is the one for 194 with Sheriff Kapoor, 195 with the Swordsman, and issue 196. But unfortunately, unlike all good things, they must come to an end. And this is the end of my comic review of The Walking Dead. I'm not gonna cry. I mean, wow. Like, I never thought I'd reach this point. I knew it was always coming, but to know it's after this, after I click this button, I'm never going to be making another comic review ever again. Maybe I'll come back to this series within a year and do the trade paperbacks as reviews for them. I will do explained videos for each character for a sort of a profile to keep this little thing going. I know it's not issue reviews, and I know people may not be interested in this video, but if you're still watching right now after the whole 33 minutes, then you have my undying respect. So that's all I'm really having to say right now. I mean, thank you, Robert Kirkman. Thank you, Tony Moore. Thank you, Charlie Adler. Thank you, Stefano Galliano. Thank you to everyone who has made The Walking Dead over the last 15 years. I know I've already said this, but I'm going to say it again, because it is truly, I give credit where credit is due. And I went through a tough time when I first picked up The Walking Dead comic. I was going through severe depression at the time. I was in high school. Everything seemed like the end of the world, and what a better way to feel a lot less lonely than to read a story based on these characters. And that's what got me through high school. This is what got me through high school. This story, this world of imagination that one man from Kentucky had made. One sheriff deputy from Kentucky changed the world. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy it, leave a like and a comment in the comment section below. Please subscribe if you have not done already. And guys, See you in the next one.